Hakadosh Boker Or. Masechet Bava Kamma daf Amud Aleph 116a1. We are by the two dots, which is 5 lines down, where it says Im amar lo atzilet shelcha ve'ata noten li yedmeh sheli, which means, you remember we were speaking about a case where you're walking casually down the street and all of a sudden somebody else's barrel breaks. So you want to come and you want to throw out, spill out whatever you have in yours and save somebody else's. So at the beginning we said in the Mishnah that you only get the sachar and the sachar of your work and that which you're like the rental, as if to say, of your barrel. But what happens if you come and you tell your friend, I'm going to save yours, whether it's talking about the dvash, because usually the dvash was superior in value, right, more than the wine, and then I'm going to come and take it off, right, that which I'm losing from spilling out the wine. So in such a case, what happens? So says the Gemara, then in such a case, he's going to be chayav, which means that the owner of the dvash would have to come and compensate the owner of the wine because he actually told him and he agreed to it. So that's it. There's nothing to talk about. So says the Gemara, 1 second. Says the Gemara, Amai, why are you going to tell me that the owner of the dvash, the owner of the honey, should be obligated to pay for the wine? Elmaleh, why can't he just say, Masechet ani becha? I was joking around with you. He could tell you, listen, I was just joking around. Why? Milo Tanya, didn't we learn in a Braita? Imagine somebody's running away from jail. Right? And he has a river in front of him. So he comes and he says, right, Tol dinar, vavareni. He comes and he says, take a dinar and go by. Yeah, so what happens? So he comes and he says, right, as follows. He comes and he says, take a dinar and just pass it by. Yeah, go by. So what happens? He comes and he says, en lo ela scharo, which means even though the dinar is much more than the real value of what's supposed to be done, right? It's much more. It doesn't cost a dinar. Imagine somebody passed me by. It's going to cost him $100. Yeah? So he comes and he says, en lo ela scharo. Alma, so you see from here, amar le Masechet ani becha. You could say Masechet ani becha. Right? You could say Masechet ani becha, which means at the end of the day, when a guy is going to be in pressing circumstances, so therefore, why can't you say that? You should be able to say that. Yeah, and that's it. So the Gemara says, why can't you do that? Halodami ella leseifa. He says, because even though a guy could usually come and say, you know what? The only reason why I was just joking around was because I was in a pressing need. I needed you to do it. It wasn't that I was really behemet serious that I was going to actually give you the dinar, or I wasn't going to behemet pay you the entire thing. Let's look at the seifa. What does the seifa says? If he tells him, this is the case of the boat again. If he tells him, tol dinar ze bischarecha ve'avirani. If he comes and he says, tol dinar, beforehand it was tol dinar ve'avireni. Take a dinar and pass me by. If he says, tol dinar ze bischarecha ve'avireni, noten lo secharo, right here, he has to pay a mishalem completely. What's the difference? Why is it that in the first place, imagine the guy's a fugitive, he's on the run. He comes and he tells him, I'm going to pay you what? You're going to, for sure, come, let's go, boom. He takes him quickly. When he gets on the side, he gives him nothing. He gives him, I was joking around with you. Why over there is it okay? And over here, no, he has to pay the entire amount. What's the difference? So Amar Rabbi Bar Chama says in Chama, we're talking about that the seifa is B'tzai da sholeh dagim min hayam. We're talking about that the guy is a fisherman. So he's trapping fish in the sea. Elmaleh, so he tells him, Avsatani kavre bezuza. Right? You went and you made me lose, right? Azuz, meaning you made me lose this dinar, right, of fishing. So therefore, since right now, he cannot come and say, right, that, Masechet ani becha. Why? Because that's your schar. Which means, well, let's say in other words, right, you're going to come and you're going to tell somebody to save you. Now, this guy is some hotshot lawyer that he's making $500 an hour, in a center, $1,000 an hour. So if he's doing that, what happens now is that when you come and you tell him, listen, I need your time, save me, right, and this is your reward, you can't say afterwards, Masechet ani becha, because that's what I was making an hour. If Be'emet it was a regular guy and he's making $18 an hour, and now he told him $500, obviously the guy's going to jump on it. He's going to go, but he could tell him Mishateni Becha. Why? Because really Be'emet it wasn't. He was just doing it just to get it, but it was not actually real, right?
For the wine, maybe he was going to.
So 2 dots, okay, in the middle of the page. Shataf nahar hamoro v'hamor chavero v'shelo yafeh maneh. Remember, we're referring to a case where all of a sudden there was a type of I don't know how you want to call it exactly, a type of, like, say, something to put in your head, type of a tsunami type of thing that it's just coming and just taking away, right? It's like a flooding. So that's a better word. So there's a flood that's coming and it's taking away. So all of a sudden he sees that his hamor, right? It was a hamor, so he stayed in the water and it's taking him away. So his hamor and the hamor of his friend is being dragged away in the water. Now he's got a chance to save one of them, right? But which chamor is he going to save? So now, obviously, if he's a good guy, he's going to save his own chamor, right? But he makes a very simple cheshbon. He's a money man. He's a businessman. So he always thinks about business. So he says, 1 second, my hamor is only worth $100, right? My friend's hamor is worth $200. So what am I going to do? I'm going to save my friend's hamor, right? And then I'm going to charge him. Why? Because at the end of the day, I could get the better one. So he comes and he says, why do I need this case now? Right? If you think about it, it's the exact same case as the wine and the honey. What's the difference between the wine and the honey and one hamor and another hamor? Right? What's the difference? Yeah? So says the Gemara, utzricha. You need both cases. Why? If it's going to be that the Shema would have only told us the first case, right? Which is basically going to be with the barrels of wine and honey. So I would have thought to say, hatam over there, that if he made a condition, he has to give him all the money. Why? Because he had to lose it with his own hands. Meaning, in order for him to get the dvash, what did he have to do? He, with his own hands, had to take his own wine and pour it out. And then he came and he saved the dvash. He saved the honey. He says, aval hacha, but here, it was mimela. It was on its own. He didn't have to do anything. The flood was taking his hamor and the other hamor with it. So he didn't have to do anything. It wasn't that he was being mafsid by yadayim. So therefore, aval hacha de mimela. So here that it's going to be mimela, which means it's done on its own. Neima, you could tell him, I'm sorry, you didn't come and lose anything with your own hands. It was mimela that it got lost. So the fact that it got lost mimela, you can't start charging me for that which you lost mimela. If you're going to come in physically, proactively, that's the word, proactively, that he comes and he doesn't know. Here he also made a decision. We want to say, but it's more than decision.
Here it was happening anyway.
It's be a dime. The dime is not a decision. Before you also made a decision. Should I save it? Not save it.
Decide to lose on yourself.
No, but again, it's an action. Be a dime is an action, not a decision. Decision is in the mind. It's an action. Be a dime that you did it, or mimela. Mimela means it's done on its own. You don't have to do anything. It's passive or active. Pay attention. Remember that. We always use those words. Kum ha'aseh or shed ve'al ta'aseh. It's always the same concept. It's you're active or you're passive. There's always going to be a difference in halakha. Active or passive. So he says over here, you're passive. Mimela, you lost it. So you would say you could only viyash minan seifa. Now you're going to tell me the seifa. What about in the seifa? The seifa of the Mishnah was shatfanahar, which is to do with the river. The river is coming and flooding out the thing. Hacha udistama, right over here. If he's going to save the hamor of his friend, right? Eno ela secharo mishum de mimela, because it's mimela. Aval hatam de biyadayim ema afilu bestama yaid le de mekula. So tzricha, meaning like this. One more time. What do we say in the Mishnah? We said in the Mishnah that there's going to be a difference between stam and between matne. Matne means I make a condition with you, which means like this. What happens right now? The guy's walking down with the barrel, and all of a sudden the barrel breaks. And without saying anything, without doing anything, I just come, spill up my wine, and I come and I pick up his dvash. What happens in that case? Does he have to pay him for the wine? One more time. Stama. Stama means he didn't make any conditions. He comes, he sees that the barrel of dvash, of honey broke. He pours out his wine, quickly picks up the dvash. Does he have to pay for the wine? No. Stama. No. What does he have to pay? No. What does he have to pay? The wages, meaning the wages
The labor.
and the labor and the what's it called? And the barrel, the rent of the barrel. That's all that he has to
The
pay.
hardcore material,
Right?
the
Yes.
thing.
Now what happens now if he's going to make a condition?
Also, he's lost.
The condition is I'm going to pour out my wine to save your divash, but now you have to pay for the wine. Now he has to pay for the wine. So one more time, there's a difference between stam and matne. Matne means you make a condition, a tnai. There's a difference between them. Pay attention. Mishnah mefureshet. I didn't say anything new now. Okay, now when we come and we said there's a chidush. There was a chidush in the second case. The second case, selam shos. Just because I played around, it's the exact same thing. I played around. Beforehand, it was honey and dvash, right? I wanted to, luna dvash, right? I wanted to make a luna de miel. I wanted to make a honeymoon, right? And the second one, we're talking about hamorim, right? There's a lot of hamorim going around. What's the difference? It's the exact same thing. What's the difference? It's the exact same case. His hamor was 100, the other hamor was 200. He saved. What's the difference? So the first, remember, whenever you're going to come and tell me that there's chidush, you have to have a chidush on both ways. So he comes and he says like this. The chidush the first way around was the difference between biyadayim and mimela. The first case of the honey and the wine, he took with his own hands, actively poured out the wine, and then came and he saved the dvash. So I would have thought to say in such a case, that's when he could come and start charging, right? But if it's going to be that it was mimela, that it got lost, meaning that he didn't do anything and the flood just took away his own hamor, and he went and he saved the other guy's hamor, he can't charge for it. So therefore we needed to mention that case. What about the flip? The flip is just tell me the seifa. Tell me the case of the hamor. And that's it. And now I know all the cases. He says, no. He says, you know why I can't tell you only the case of the hamor? Because what was the case of the hamor? The case of the hamor, he comes and he says, was, right, that it was mimela. But if you're doing a biyadayim, right, what do we say? We say that's much more to be chayav. So I would have thought to say that even stama, you would have been chayav. Meaning even without the condition. The fact that I come and I see that your barrel is breaking of dvash, and I run and I'm the saver, I'm the Superman. I come, I saved it. I should charge you for the wine. Why? Because I did it biyadayim. It didn't happen mimela. Meaning, if it would have only mentioned the second case of this, which is the seifa of the Mishnah, which is shatfo nahar, which is the river, I would have thought to say that in a case that you do something that proactively you come and you do something, you lose out, even without any conditions. I came and I saved your dvash, you have to pay me. I didn't make any conditions. I didn't tell you that if no, it doesn't matter. I did it actively.
From the condition.
Well, in this case, yes. Now that we say that, no, you have to actually make the condition, yes, confirm the condition. Fine. So ask the Gemara, Ba mine Rav Kahana merav. So Rav Kahana comes and he's going to ask a question from Rav, and he says as follows: Yarad leatzil ve'ala shelo me'elav mao. What happens right now? He goes down, right, to save hamoro shel chavero, in order to get, right, the money. Remember, he's a businessman. His friend's hamor is worth 200. His hamor is worth 100, right? We're talking about, let's say, for example, between, I don't know what, Nissan, whatever it is, and BMW. Yeah, so he's coming, he's trying to save, I'm going to try to save the BMW, right? Or between the Bentley and the Rolls Royce. I said, depends which level you guys are going, yeah?
Rabbi,
fine. So he comes and he says, yeah, so he comes and he says this. He says, Rav Kahana comes and he asks from Rav, Yarad Latzil, which means I already come down and I'm going to save my friend's chamor. Obviously, there was a reason. But what happened? Now, I actually went down and all of a sudden, my own chamor came up, right, at the same time. So now what happens is, do we say that he ki'ilu made his chamor hefker, right? And therefore, the guy still has to pay him money. Or do I say, and therefore he was just sochemina hefker? Or maybe I say, listen, at the end of the day, you didn't lose anything.
But wait a second.
Yeah, one more time, right? Everyone got the case. What? 1 second. Yeah, let's get the case one more time, right? I'm coming and I'm watching everything that's going on. All of a sudden, I see a flood coming down. And all of a sudden, I have my chamor and my friend's chamor there. I know that my chamor is only 100. His chamor is valued 200. I come and I tell him, listen, I'm going to save your chamor, right? I'm going to go put myself, I'm going to put on it. But you have to pay me for my chamor. The guy says, yeah, no problem. All of a sudden I come, I go down, I save his chamor. And when I come up, right, miraculously, right, my chamor, right, got out. Right, I thought it was a chamor, but he was able to get out. He got out. So now all of a sudden we have the two chamorim. So now the question is, do I say that when I went down to save the chamor, I made my chamor hefker? Because basically, I just gave up on my chamor. I just said kaddish. That's it. So I made it hefker. And now that it came up on its own, I'm going to be zocher from hefker. So you still have to pay me. You have to pay me the 100. So here I'm going to get double now. Why? Because I got my own chamor back. Plus I got the value of my chamor back also. So I got double. Perfect. Or do we say no? At the end of the day, I didn't lose anything. Why? It was even though I went down to save your chamor, my chamor came back. So therefore, I don't say that you lose anything. So that's the question of the Gemara, right? Again, Rav Kahana from Rav, 1 minute, please. Let's try to stay on schedule. So he comes and he says like this. We're trying, right? He comes and he says like this, right? Amalei mishemaya rechimu alei. He comes and he answers him, Mina Shamayim, they had mercy on him. Mina Shamayim, they had mercy on him. Ki had Rav Safra avaka azil b'shayrata. Just like Rav Safra was going in a shayara. So imagine he's going in caravans. Lavinu ahu ari, right? And they had an aryeh, right? A lion. And the lion was watching over the animals because of other wild animals and because of the bandits. So every single night, they used to send a hamor for one of the people of the shayara in order that it could eat it. Kimat azimne, when it came the time of Rav Safra, right? Shadal lechamara velo achle. Yeah. So what happened? He gave him the chamor, and it didn't eat it. So what happened? Kadim Rav Safra v'zachabe. So Rav Safra came, and he was zocher. Yeah, he was zocher in it. So therefore, it comes out that basically ki'ilu that Rav Safra was obligating himself to give the chamor, just like everyone took a turn. So everyone gave their chamor. They all gave the chamor to the ari. Right? It was a nice lion. Look, he was watching over them. So every single night, here's your supper. So they gave him a hamor. Yeah, okay, perfect. When it came to his turn, he didn't need his hamor, so you gave him, he took it back. Now, even though obviously it was a miracle, right, and therefore he didn't have to give it another time, we say min hashamayim it came to him. So therefore he was zoche min hashamayim. So the same thing, that means basically what he's trying to say is, over here, the fact that the hamor came out on his own, it was min hashamayim that it came out. And therefore he was zoche min hashamayim, and the guy still has to pay him, right, for the value, right, of his hamor. So the Gemara asks, what are you talking about? Amaleh Rav Acha midifti leravina. Says Rav Acha midifti to Ravina. He comes and he says, Lama lemisker bei, right? Why was it that Rav Safra had to come and make another zichiyah in his chamor? Why did he have to come and as if to say, take the chamor again? Why? Nehidichi afkere adaita de'ali afkere. Right? He comes and he said he only made it hefker to the lion. Adaita dechuli alma lo afkere. He never made it hefker for the entire world. Meaning, when he's coming and he's giving over this hamor, can anybody just come and take the hamor? Obviously not. He gave it for a purpose. What was the purpose? I'm giving it to eat for supper for the lion. If the lion eats it, bon appetit. Okay, fine. But if the lion doesn't eat it, nobody else could just come and just take it. He never made it hefker for anybody else. He only made it hefker for the lion. So why does he have to come and be zochen it again? Why? Yeah. Huh? Yeah, that does exist. Yeah. Yes, 100%. So Amalei, he comes and he says, Amalei Rav Safra leravcha demintau David. You're right. Really, Behemet, Rav Safra didn't need to do it. He didn't need to come and to be zochen it again. But the only reason why he did it was shelo yeh shum ilur badavar. He didn't want that it should be any type, right, of an idur. Okay? And therefore, he didn't want that anybody's going to come and start saying, no, yes, no. So because of that, right, he comes and he says, it doesn't, that's why he did it. But really, Behemet, he didn't need to do it. You're right. So therefore, we still have the original answer, right, that who is the one that's answered this? This is Rav to Rav Kahana, Mina Shamayim, they came and they gave it to him. Okay? That's what he actually comes. So it comes out that it never actually came out of his possessions, by the way. That was actually what comes out to Maskanat Gemara. Nevertheless, it could be that there might be a difference or not, but for sure that, again, that he's getting it Mina Shamayim. Okay? Now the Gemara is going to ask for another safekna. Ba mine Rav merebi. So Rav comes and he asks for Rabbi. Yarad le'atzil velo hitzil. Mao. Until now we went and we gave an interesting case. He went down to save the friend's animal. He did save his friend's animal, but he also saved, but his own animal was saved Mimela. Now all of a sudden he went to save his friend's animal, and both of them went. Both of them went Kaddish. So now the question is, what happens now? Right? At the end of the day, he actually tried. Maybe if he would have gone for his animal, maybe he would have gotten it. But the fact that he went for his friend's animal, now he lost it. So now what happens? What's halacha? So says the Gemara, Amarlo, he came and he said, Vezo she'ela, right? Oh, this behemet is an incredible question, right? But what? En lo ela scharo. What does that mean? He only gets a schar. He gets a reward. What does it mean reward? Obviously for his, how do you call it? Due diligence, I think they say in English. Yeah? What does that mean? Listen, he were. But you can't give him a, remember, there's only one thing in this world that you get paid without a result. What is that? Talmud Torah. Right? It was a famous, they said in the name of the Chavetz Chaim, right? That they say that every single time we come and we say Asiyu Masechet, we say Anu Amelim Vehem Amelim. Anu Amelim Mekablim Sachar Vehem Amelim Vehem Mekablim Sachar. Right? What's the pshat? What does that mean? What is Amelim? If I'm going to come and I'm going to go to a lawyer and he's going to start working on my case, but he doesn't succeed. I go to an accountant. He's working for hours and hours, right? And they don't succeed. They don't do their job. They can't finish. They're lost, right? I come. They don't get paid for the job. Why? You get finish for the finished job. I come and I tell you, a carpenter, listen, start making me a bookcase. He comes, he bought the, what's it called? He bought the wood, he bought the, he comes, I tell him, no, where is it? He didn't do it. You don't get paid. You get a plumber, he starts fixing your plumbing, he wasn't able to succeed. You don't pay him. You pay for the finished job. That's the way it works. Yeah? Here, like Torah, even without a finished job, the fact that you are a male, you get rewarded. Even if you didn't come out with the Pashup Shat, right? You left off with a question, right? It's not such a big deal, right? People can leave off with questions. Remember, Tosafot many times he leaves off with Sarich Yun, and you still have the next Tosafot. Yeah, you still have the next daf. He continued going. He didn't stop. He continued going. Why? Because Torah is the only thing that you get paid for the amelut, even without any maskana, right? How did Rabbi Shimon ben Suni tell Rabbi Akiva and everyone? He says, "Keshem shani kibalti sachar ala drisha, kach kibalti sachar ala prisha." When he was doresh et kol etim shabat Torah, right? He was doresh all the ets. What does it say? Et, until he went and he said, right? Et Hashem lokecha tira. So imagine he went and he already did all the ets and all of Bereshit and all of Shemot and all of Vayikant. Et Hashem lokecha tira. All of a sudden he says, what are you gonna? He says, no. If I was wrong, I was wrong. That's it. So I made every single one. I got, what do you mean? You're getting sachar. Even if you could be 100% incorrect, you get the sachar. So he comes and he says, here, I'm sorry, you only get paid for due diligence. You didn't get the end result. So you don't get paid. So 8 ways, so the Gemara is going to ask, if you're going to come, you're going to take a worker, 116b. Yeah, lavi keruv v'dur maskin, to bring kruv and shezifim, plums, no? Yeah, plums. To kruv, the cabbage and the plums to the chole. V'alach umtza'o shemet o shivri. So imagine, you come, and the guy's 100% fine. You come, you found no problem. What? Or the guy died. So either or. Either he became 100% okay, or he died. So what happens? Noten lo secharo mishalem. You're going to come, and you're going to give him, right, the full sachar. So you see here, even though the end result was not accomplished, you still get the reward. And so the Gemara Elmaleh tells him, Midami, can you compare both cases? Hatam over there, Avid shliach shluchute. There, he did his shlichut. His shlichut was to bring it to the chole. He went and he brought it to the chole. Now, the chole didn't need it at the end, either because he became healed or because he died, but he did his shlichut. His shlichut is, go bring this from point A to point B. He did it. He says, Barhacha lo avid shliach shlichute. Here, he didn't do it. Why didn't he do it? Because at the end of the day, right, there was no shlichut. The shlichut was to save the animal. He didn't save the animal. So the fact that he didn't save the animal, obviously he's not going to be. The Zainam bet 4 lines down, 2 dots. Tan Rabbanan, we learned to the Braita. Shayara shayta me'alecha b'midbar ve'amad alei hagais letorfa. Imagine right now you have these caravans that they're going in the middle of, right, the desert, and all of a sudden you have bandits that are coming and they want to come and they want to just take everything, right? So mechashrin lefi mamon. They're going to find out, they're going to calculate the tashlum of every single one according to the money that they have. That means obviously the one that has more money has to pay more. Right? But they do not come and calculate according to the amount of people. What does that mean? Obviously, these people, they don't care about the amount of people. They want money. So therefore, according to the amount of money that everyone has, they have to start coming and they're going to start paying up. Okay? So therefore he comes, so that's what he says here. He brings an example in the footnote. He says, let's say, for example, there are 10 people and they want $1,000, right? So we're not going to say that each one is going to pay $100, but rather, according to the money, right, that each one has, right? These guys were good bandits. They didn't empty you out completely, right? They come and say, yeah, you know what? You want to go buy? Here's your life, $1,000. Nowadays they would come, they would empty you complete. Yeah? Huh?
It's a toll road.
Yeah, it's like a toll. Yeah, but it was bandits. Obviously, they could take anything. But they asked for they asked for $1,000 for 10 people. Now it could be children. It could be no. You go according to the money. Okay. V'im sachru tayar haolech lifnehem. If they come and they got somebody which is a leader, which is basically he's the one that's going to make sure that they shouldn't make any mistakes on the path. So he's like, I don't know, a tour guide, not really a tour, but whatever. Right? But there's he's guiding them in the desert, right? A guide to make sure that they don't get dangerous places and everything. So there, right, it's sakana nefashot. So therefore, there we do calculate the price according to the amount of people that are in the caravan. Meaning we don't care about how much money you have or not. You're a person. You have to pay for this guy that's going to guide us. Right? And you're not going to change from the minhag of the chamarim, right? That if they had a minhag of doing also the chashev the schar according to Mammon or according to nefashot, you go according to minhag. Meaning don't start changing the minhag. Yeah, very important. Don't change minhagim. Okay? Fine. Next. Rashayina chamarin latnot. So the chamarin are allowed to come and make a condition between them. Shekol mi shioval lo chamaro ya'amil lo chamor acher bekusya. That anybody that's going to lose a chamor, the other chamorin are going to give him another chamor. Okay? And that they can make that condition. So imagine you have a whole bunch of taxi drivers. They can make a condition that if somebody loses it, they all come and they have to give him one. Right? They come, that means they're going to replace it between all of them. So it's like a whole group. I don't know what to call it, group effort or group. They're all in one group. Okay. Right? Support group. Thank you. Bekusya, if one of them lost it, right, because it was pshia, meaning that it was done negligent, and mamidin. So obviously they're not going to give him another one. Right? Why? Listen, it was negligent. What do you want? I'm going to start giving you one if you were negligent. Shelo bekusya, but if it wasn't negligence, mamidin, no, they're going to give it to him according to the condition. V'im amar, now if right now the hamar that his got lost says, tenuli, give me money to buy a chamor, v'ani eshmor, and I'm going to watch on the other chamorim as well, en shominu, right? We're not going to listen to him. Why? Because maybe he's not going to buy another chamor. Yeah, and therefore they only made a condition that it's going to be that he has to get a chamor. Okay? Right? That means basically, again, but once he has a chamor and everything, so therefore he has to watch them also during the night times from the wild animals and from the listim. So if he's not going to get the chamor, okay, so just give one to me, right? But then what happens? Afterwards, he's not going to do his job. Okay, he gets the money, and he doesn't do it. He doesn't get another one.
Insurance.
Yeah, it's like insurance, exactly. So they want to make sure that you're getting another one. Okay? So ask the Gemara, Pshita, obviously. Obviously, we're not going to listen to him. So says Gemara, Lotzicha, what are we dealing with? Dile chamara chanian. He already has another chamor. So I would have thought to say, Hakamintale, anyway, he has to watch the chamor. And therefore, we're not going to suspect that he's not going to buy another chamor. Kamashmalan comes teach you, Shanin nitiruta dechad, nitiruta devetrei. There's always going to be a difference between watching over one chamor or two chamorim, which means that obviously it's going to be much more. He has to be much more on top of it if it's two chamorim. So therefore, we want to make sure that he buys a second chamor, and we don't just give him the money. We have to make sure that he's actually going to come and buy another chamor. So that says the Gemara, the next two dots. We learned in the Braita, we have a boat which is going in the sea. And we have an achshol. What is an achshol? We have this storm, right? Torment. I don't know what you want to call it, right? Or here it says it's a big gal. It's a big wave, right? Which is going to come, right? Litov'an. It's going to take it over. So you want to call it like a tsunami type of a wave that's coming to take it down, right? The kilu mimasa'a. So they come and they had to throw things over, because hopefully by throwing things over, right, it'll go with the waves, but it's not gonna, it's not gonna come down. Remember, if it's easier, if it's lighter, so it could be tossed around much easier, but it won't actually sink. So mechashvin lefi masui ve'mechashvin lefi mamon. So here we're going to go according to the mishkal and not according to the money. Meaning we're not going to go according to the value of it. We're going to go according to the actual weight of the mishkal. So you could have one container, and I have one container. I have one container of jewels. So obviously the amount is huge, and you have a container of heavy machinery, right? But the difference is that at the end of the day, yours is much heavier. So we go according to the weight, and we're not going according to the amount of money. But they're not going to sapanim, but they're not going to come and change from the minhag of the sapanim, which means that it all depends. According to that means if they go according to the money also, or in another way, we always go according to the minhag. Yeah? So the sapanim could come and they could make a condition, right? The neighbor that's going to lose one of these sefina, they're going to come and they're going to give him another one. Yeah. Again, bekusia, if it was lost and it was done with pshia, they're not going to give him another boat. Shelo bekusia, if it wasn't pshia, they're going to give him another one. The same halacha would apply is that what happens if he goes in a place where nobody goes? That means he went against he went basically in places where they already know, whether it's too shallow, whether it's Bermuda Triangle, or certain places that they already know that you don't travel there. What do you go? Bermuda Triangle, very good. I mean, you don't go there. No, you went. It's his problem. So therefore, and ma'amidin, they're not going to give it to him. So it says the Gemara, pshita, obviously, right? You already just told us, right? Like what you said, that's pshia then. If you just told me that pshia, you don't give it to him, right? This is a pshia. What do you want? So it says the Gemara, lotzicha, what do we do? He says the Nisan merachake chad ashla. He says during Nisan, the nahar, right? The nahar, the river is very, very big because of the waters, and therefore, and also because of the sheleg. So therefore, what happens is the sfinot, they come and they have to distance, right? One chevel, one rope size, right? From the riverbanks. But in Tishri, where the waters is going to be less, so therefore the sfina is already touching the ground, right? It's like low tide and high tide, I think they call it in English, right? Which means that all of a sudden now, if it's going to be low, so if they have to distance much more, so they have to do it twice. Because of Yomen Nisan, limkom Tishri. Now you're going and during the days of Nisan to the place where you could go during Tishri, right? And what happened is that since it's right, it was basically it was the emsa, it was the middle of the nahar, and then what happened is that since it was very, very deep, so the sfina actually came in it and it sunk, right? So it's very interesting. That means if you realize they tried to keep as close to shore as possible, not too close to get to sink, obviously, because it would have hit the ground. But they would be very close to shore, right? Because here, if he's going in the middle, that's why it sank. And it's kilu, we were saying that, it's a problem. But really, Be'emet was, during Nisan, they would come in distance one chevel, right? One length, right, from the boat, from the riverbanks. So says the Gemara, I would have thought to say, Dav Shenakit Viazi. So I could have said, right, that listen, if he's going over there, it's because he's usually going there. Meaning in the other months, that's where you go. So therefore, the fact that he went there, it's like going on a normal road that you always go on. So you're right. Maybe now it might be considered pshia, but he's always accustomed to going this route. So therefore, it's not going to be considered pshia. So Kamashmanan comes teach you know that it is considered pshia, and therefore we do not give him another boat. So this is considered pshia. Okay? And therefore we don't give him another boat. Another case. Tanu Rabbanan. Right? We learned in a Braita. Shayera shaita me'alechet bamidbar. You have a shayera which was going in the desert. Ve'amad gais utrafa, and came with these bandits and they grabbed it. They come, they start taking. Ve'amad echad mehem v'itzil. So one of them came and he saved the money from the guys. Hitzil le'emtza. So it comes out that he saved for everybody. Yeah, that means we're not going to say that since he was a Superman here and he saved it, he gets everything. No. Divided between everyone. Everyone gets their own things. Okay, so everyone gets their own properties. But if he comes and he tells them beforehand, yeah, Ani atzil latzmi, I'm going to save it for myself. He saved it for himself. And then he gets everything. He keeps everything. So he's the man. Okay. So says the Gemara, Hechidami, what's the case exactly? If you're going to tell me now that he always could have saved it, so afilu seifa, even if it is going to be that he says in the seifa, I'm going to save this for myself, nami le'emsa, right? So then it should actually go to the middle. Why? Because there was no yush. Meaning, if they know that he's the only one that's trained in martial arts, and he's got weapons on him. And meaning, if they already know this, there was no use. They know that he's the only one that could save, and he could save. So if they know that he could save and he could save, so even if he says I'm saving it for myself, it should still go them side. It should go for everybody. Now you're going to say that by nature he cannot actually save, which means by nature it does not help, right? Because he would need a miracle, right, to do such a thing. So therefore he says, so then even in the Reisha, when he comes and he saves it, even though he didn't say the condition, I'm doing it for myself, right? Still, you would say that it should go for himself. Why? He did some, I don't know what, and he was zocher nefker, like we said before. So answers the Gemara, Amar Rabbi Merchama, says Rabbi Merchama, you're right. Hacha b'shutafin askina. We're talking about shutafin. Right? We're talking about their partners. Ugonzeh, and to do with this, in this case, shutaf cholek shelo ledat chavero. So the shutaf comes and he can take his chelek even shelo ledat chavero, which means without the askama of his friend. And therefore, if he said ani atzil latzmi, right? If he comes and he says I'm saving it for myself, halig. So then what happens is that he separated, right, from the shutafut, and therefore he's taking for himself. Velo amar, but if he didn't say anything, lo palig, he's still part of the partnership, which means that this. If we're all part of a business, right? So, and we're all partners, so then by nature or by default, if you want to call it, right, automatically whatever I do is for the best of the company. So if I realize that tomorrow morning a stock is going to go down and it will cripple the company, and I come and I call up last second and I need the save of the life, right, the save of the second, and I kind of tell, sell everything that we have, I can't say afterwards, listen, it's coming to me. But I saved everything. Tomorrow it would have been worthless. Doesn't matter. I'm a partner. The second that I'm a partner, everything that I do is by default for the partnership. However, though, if I come and I take myself out of the partnership, by coming and saying, I'm saving it for myself, I'm doing it for myself, that's something different, right? That's something completely different. By the way, the case that I gave you, you should have asked me, right? You should have asked me against it. What's the difference? Why? 1 second. Why is the case that I just gave you not good? I just gave you a case. Why is it not good? Yeah? So that's the first answer. So the first answer is that Rabbi Bar Chama comes and he says one more time. When we were talking about the case where the guy comes and he beat up the bandits and he took it back. So we just said at the beginning, really be'emet, if he could have saved it and everyone knows that he could have saved it, there was no use. If there's no use, then what happens? So therefore, everyone, it's lemsa. Everybody gets their own share. If he couldn't have saved it and he became the superhero and he saved it, so it goes to him, even without any condition. Always it goes to him. The sefer where he has to say that I'm saving it was talking about shutafim, partners. So that's the answer of Rabbi Merchama. Since we're talking about partnerships, so he's always part of the partnership. If he saved it, it's always goes to the partnership. If he comes and he takes himself out of the partnership and he says, I'm saving it for myself, then he's out of the partnership. Says Rava comes and he says another answer. Hacha bepoalin askina. We're not talking about partners, we're talking about workers. And like Rav, the Amar Rav, as Rav says, poel yachol lachzor bo afilu b'chatzi hayom. A worker could stop even in the middle of the day. Bava Kamma daf, and as long as he doesn't retract, he's still in the reshut of the balabait. Now, when he is going to go back, right? It's another reason. What is the reason why Be'emet he's going to come and he's permitted to come and to retract? It's not because he was not in the reshut of the balabait. It's because it says and therefore it comes out that, for example, I come to work for you. Right? I'm supposed to work from 9 to 5. In the middle of the day, I can say, you know what? That's it. I had enough. I'm not working for you. That's what the Gemara says. A poel in the middle of the day can retract and say, I'm not working for you anymore. Why? Not because until then I was not in your reshut. I was in your reshut. I was working for you. But the reason why is because I'm not anybody's slave. So in the middle, I could come and say, listen, I'm working, but I'm not a slave. You can't hold me, with the hostage. So therefore, I'm going to come and say, no, that's it. I get out. And you're allowed to get out. Says the Gemara, but as long as you don't retract, you're still in the reshut of the master. And therefore, if right now you do not retract and you save, you're saving it for the master. However, though, if you come and you say that I'm saving it for myself, you're megaleh dat, and now you're not anymore the poel, and therefore, so now you're going to be zocher from the efker, and therefore it's going to become yours. So the first answer of Rabbi Bar Chama, right, was shutafim. Second answer of Rava was poalin, a worker. So it all depends. If you didn't retract, everything goes to the owner. If you retracted, you say, I'm saving for myself, it goes to you. Third answer, Ravashi. Ravashi Amar, you could save it, but only dachat. So gali date, so therefore you're going to be megale dato, right? Leatzmo, lo gali date leemtza, which means this. You could save it, but we're not sure. Meaning, listen, we know your moves. But listen, you've got a few guys here that we're not really sure you could actually save it. So it all depends. He says, since it's latzil dachak, if you were megale datcha, that you're saving it for yourself, so therefore, and they kept quiet, and they didn't try to do anything, so therefore you're right, he saved it for himself. But if he was not megale dato, and he comes and he saves it, so therefore it has to go to everybody, everybody comes, and they get their own property. Okay, which actually makes sense, because again, of what we just mentioned until now. Mishnah at the bottom of Kuftet Zayin Amud Bet 116b, the Mishnah. Hagozel tzadeh mechavero v'natlu masikin. Imagine a person comes and he steals a field from his friend, and then afterwards the masikin, which are anasim, people which are very powerful people, come, right, and they took it away from you, right? So they come again, they took it away from the gazlan, right? What goes around comes around, right? So they took it away from him. What happens? Im makat medinahi. If this is the masikin are coming and they're taking a whole bunch of people's fields, so Omerlo, he could come and say, take it back. It's yours. Yeah? But if it was taken because of the gazlan, so he has to give him another field. So everyone understood the difference between meaning one more time, right? Let's say Mr. A comes and he steals a field from Reuven. So he steals a field, all of a sudden comes the mafia, and they come and they take it from him. Right? Come the Russian SARS, or whatever it is, they come, they take it away. It belongs to the government. Right? Communism. Everything belongs to the government. So what happened? What happened was, it all depends. If it's Makat Medina, which means that it wasn't only this field, it was tons of fields around. So they come and they just start taking everything. And it belongs to them. So therefore he could just say, you know what? I stole the field from Reuven. I go to Reuven and I said, Reuven, you know what? I feel very bad. This is your field. Go, b'chavod. Now, Reuven cannot do anything with it. the Anasim already took it, but I can actually give it back. Why can you give it back? Because it was something that happened globally. You remember we were speaking about this, about the Chametz Shaval Pesach and all those things, that you could say, here it is, take it back. But he says, but if it was only because of the Gazlan, meaning these Anasim, you were after the Gazlan. Right? This Gazlan was not a good guy or whatever it is. And he got on some people's nerves. So comes the Anasim, boom, they take away the. So he can't say Aresh Shalcha lefanecha. So now he's going to have to give another field back to Reuven. He cannot say Aresh Shalcha lefanecha. Says the Gemara, Amar Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak, says Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak, Man detani masikin lo mishtabesh, uman detani matzikin lo mishtabesh. Meaning there were two different girsaot. A girsa with a samech and a girsa with a saddi. Yeah, so what's going on exactly? Now Rav Nachman's going to explain. Man detani matzikin, when you say matzikin is not making a mistake, lo mishtabesh. Why? Because it says in the pasuk ve'achalta pri b'dnecha b'matzor u'matzok asher yatzik lecha u'yevecha. Matzok is sukkah v'tzara, right? Lashon sukkah v'tzara. Sukkah, right? Matzikin, they cause you tzarot, they cause you suffering, right? So therefore, you could say matzikin or matzik lecha, right? That's the concept. Matzor u'matzok. Man detani masikin lo mishtabesh. But even if you would have had the girsa and the mishnah masikin with a samech, also you're not going to be mishtabesh. Why? Because it says kol etzecha ufri admatecha yaresh hatzelatzal. All of your wood and the fruits of your fields, it's going to the enemies, the arbe, sorry, the tzelatzal is the arbe is the locusts, they're going to come and they're going to be yoreshotam, they're going to inherit them. Metargimina, what's a targum? Yachsinine saka'a. Arbe, right, which is a gazlan, which is eating the fields of other people, which is not his, is called a saka'a. And therefore, since arbe locusts, because locusts steal from other people's fields, they come into your field, they start eating, right? So the same thing, somebody else comes into your field, he's like a locust. So therefore, just like the locusts are called saka'a, so to masikin, right, masikin is not reaping of the grapes, but rather here, masikin means it's like the locusts, and they're coming and they're taking from the field. So whichever nusach that you have in the Gemara and the Mishnah, you're okay, right? Whether it's a samech or a tzaddik. Okay, fine. Next, 2 dots. Im mechamat gazlan chayav. We just said that what happens if these people came, the anasim, and they took it because of you. Meaning they didn't take it because of Makkah Medina that it was all over the place. They're pinpointing. This is the guy. We want it from him. So what happens? He has to give back another field. What's the case? If you're going to tell me now, if you're going to tell me now the Shamasikim came and they took the field of the Gazlan, and they didn't take everybody else's. We already learned that from the beginning of the Mishnah. When it says Makkah Medina, meaning like this, pay attention to the Mishnah. The Mishnah says, Hagozel sadeh mechavero v'natru masikim. One second. Im makat medina hi omer lo hare shelcha lefanecha. Stop. I don't need to say anything else on the Mishnah. Because if I just told you right now in the Reish of the Mishnah, in the former part of the Mishnah, I just told you that if it's makat medina, you say hare shelcha lefanecha. Obviously, then what? Continue the sentence. I don't have to tell you the rest of the Mishnah. Obviously, if it's not going to be makat medina, you cannot do that. So why do I have to come and say, it's obvious. One second. So says the Gemara, why do I need it then? He comes and he says, right, why do I need this? Right? Right? So answers the Gemara, right, you're right. What happened? What are we dealing with? The ach ve'achvuye. Right? He didn't steal the field itself. He heard that they want to steal the field, right? And therefore he comes and he says, that means he comes and he hears, right? So that means, what does that mean? He didn't steal the field in itself. He heard, right, from Bet HaMelech that they want to come and they want to steal fields. So he comes and he showed them the field of his friend. And he comes and he says, Tlukar kazu shel ploni. So the Mishnah is actually telling us that if you're going to be moser mamon chavero, you're chayav l'shalem. Meaning the Gazlan over here was not that he physically came and he stole the field. He showed the government which field to steal. That's called Moser Mamon Shel Chavero. You're giving over the money of your friend, you're obligated to pay. That's what the Chidush of the Mishnah is actually coming to teach you. So that's why the Mishnah actually came and it said, Im Mechamata Gazlan. Meaning the last part of the Mishnah, Im Mechamata Gazlan, is not that the Gazlan actually came and he stole it and then the Anasim stole it from him. Mechamata Gazlan means that it was because of the Gazlan that they stole the field. He didn't steal the field, but he gave over the field. So it's like he stole the field. He has to give another field. Moser Mamon Chavero, chayav lachzik. Yeah, he's part of it. So therefore, that's Moser Mamon Chavero, chayav l'shalem. He didn't actually steal it though. But that's what happens. So says the Gemara, Lishna Karina, another answer. Right? No, but now we understand why there's two different parts of the Mishnah. Because the first part of the Mishnah already told you, if it's Makat Medina, he could just say, If it's not Makat Medina, he cannot say, which if it's because of the Gazlan, which is another case where he's giving over. He's an accomplice. No, that's what they call it. An accomplice. No? I think they call it. Yeah? So therefore, what happens is he's going to be obligated to pay back. Lishna Achrina, another Lishna. Hachar Maskina, what are we dealing with? כגון דאנסו עובדי כוכבים ואמרו לי אח והרתה ואח וההוא בעדיו. Basically what happened is that the Goyim came and they told him, show me, right, the field, show me the fields. And what happened is that he showed the field, this field, with his other fields as well. Okay? Which means that he actually showed him more fields. Okay? That means according to this, we're talking about that he stole the field. And then afterwards, when the Masikim came and they told him to show the fields, he added it as well. Okay? That's what it says here in the footnote. Look in Tosafot, that he actually did steal the field. And then afterwards, when the Onsim came and they told him, show us the fields and everything, he showed him this field as well. So in such a case, that's why he's going to be obligated to pay. Okay? Nekuda. So two different lishonot in what was the case. Whether it was that he never actually stole the field, he just gave it over, and he told the Goyim, come, these Anasim, come and steal this field. Or the second case, that he actually did steal it, and then he showed it with all the other ones. There was a story. So there was a person that he went and he showed Masikin on an otzar of chitim, of a whole bunch of wheat, right, that was in the house of the Resh Galuta. And they went and they took it. So Rav Nachman, they came in front of Rav Nachman. So Rav Nachman said, listen, you have to pay for it. Yativ Rav Yosef achore de Rav Huna bar Chia. So Rav Yosef was sitting behind Rav Huna bar Chia. Yativ Rav Huna bar Chia kamed Rav Nachman. Now Rav Huna bar Chia was in front of Rav Nachman. Amar le Rav Huna bar Chia le Rav Nachman Says Rav Huna bar Chia to Rav Nachman, Dina or Knasa? The fact that you just came and you said that the Moser is obligated to pay, is that Mikara Din? Is that Dina? Or is that a Knas? Meaning, we don't want people to start coming and snitching or to showing other people's fields. So if we give them a Knas, a penalty. What is the halacha? What is it? It's a Dina or Knasa? Elmaleh says, Matnitini. It's a Mishnah. The Mishnah said it. It's not. That was the case. So therefore, it's Mikara Din. It's not a Knas. There's a Mishnah. The Mishnah is not a Knas. Patar din afak. After Rav Nachman came out, Elmaleh Rav Yosef Rav Huna Machia says Rav Yosef Rav Huna Machina, "My nafka lechamina." What's the difference? I don't understand. What do you care? What? It's a din. It's a knas. What do you care? Right? Idina or knasa. Elmaleh comes and he says, "Idina kamina mine." If it's a din, we're going to learn from it. Why? Because this is the case of gamin nezikin. You're chayv l'shalem. But if it's a knas, lo gamin mine. We're not going to learn from it because obviously in such a case, if it's going to be a knas, a penalty, you can't always learn from penalties. Penalty is a penalty. You can't always learn from it. So therefore, obviously, it's going to be a different halacha.